Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the trade report video for the week of May 14th, 2017. And happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. So first up, let's take a look at the Dow Jones ETF. And what we can see is the market does look like it's still kind of consolidating in kind of a bull flag pattern. We had this break where it broke this descending trend line of lower highs and lower lows. And then now it's just kind of in this sideways range. And it does look like it's constructive. It doesn't. It looks like eventually this thing's going to break out to the upside based on this pattern. So we'll just have to keep that in mind right now. Still kind of consolidating just below the highs. So it still looks pretty good on the Dow. And similar story here on the SPY. You know, the high up here. You know, 240 area, which was this was when. Back here was when Trump gave his speech to Congress, and then since then we've kind of been in a choppy range. But it looks like we're right up there near the highs and could break out at any time now. So we'll just have to see what happens. But overall, the market looks pretty healthy. Small cap ETF, nothing really concerning. Just kind of looks like pulling back from its highs. Not really seeing much on this. You know, this is a key support down here at 133, 134. Key resistance up here. So still in a kind of a sideways range at this moment. So nothing to really see on the IWM. The biotech sector, you know, key support down here at 286, 287. Held that support, kind of rallied back near the highs, near 300 area, and now it's just kind of pulled back. So still kind of in a range between this 287, 300 area. So this looks like it's still range bound at this point. Energy names, still energy, you know, you can see this ETF still just putting in lower highs and lower lows. So we still have yet to kind of start reversing and putting in higher highs and higher lows. So the energy sector, although it's been going down for you know, quite a bit, quite a while now, but who knows where the bottom is? You know, it could just keep on, you know, putting in lower highs and lower lows, or it could start to put in a bottom. So just have to keep an eye on that. But so far, still kind of bearish there on the energy sector. Some other sectors with the semiconductor sector, which has been pretty strong lately. Some of the home builders, things like that. We won't go through and look at those ETFs, but overall, those sectors still remain pretty strong. All right, now we'll get into some individual names, and just kind of continuing with what I said last week or the week before, about getting into swing trading more and less day trading, and I'm really sticking with that. It's really been doing well for me. VSTM and, you know, AUPH are my two swing positions right now. VSTM I've made some money on, took some profits on it, and it's what works for me. And you know, if you're more of a day trader, the setups that I provide, you can day trade those as well. But mentally and just overall, it just works better for me to day trade. I'm better at that, or I'm sorry, swing trading. So just keep that in mind, guys, when I'm mentioning stocks and stuff. You know, probably not day trading them. I'm looking for longer term picks or longer term trades that are going to last for several days. And another note that you know, everything I post on Twitter, you know, I can't trade everything. I don't trade everything. But even though it could be a fantastic trade, doesn't mean that I'm not in it, that you guys shouldn't be trading it. If it's a great setup, you know, make the decision for yourself. You know, obviously, if I'm already in trades, or I may be fully loaded already, and I don't have capital to actually enter it, but doesn't mean that you guys can't trade it, because it's, you know, the setup is a great setup. You know, regardless of whether or not I'm in it, don't worry about that. So, all right, let's take a look at some of the names on last week's watch list and kind of how they played out. So first up, this is just kind of a good reminder about holding through earnings. If you're going to hold through earnings, then, you know, make it small, and, you know, just understand that no matter how good the pattern is, that these type of things can happen. So this meat was a perfect pattern. You know, it had this perfect kind of ascending triangle right there, and you can see it had a big break, and then earnings came out and it just dumped. Okay, so that's always a possibility on earnings. Nobody knows how a stock's gonna, you know, unless you have inside information or something. But you know, from a technical perspective, you know, earnings can completely destroy a chart, and that's just what it is. So just keep that in mind. This is a good example, and there's some other ones too that looked really good and they had earnings and they dumped. So there's something to keep in mind that if you got earnings, hold small if you're going to hold it all, and just understand that this is what can happen. So meat was a good example of that. You know, FMI was another one where it had this pattern that I was, entered this stock and looked like it wanted to kind of break out of this, and it kind of put in a bull flag type pattern and tried to break out on this day and then pulled all the way back. So I had a nice profit, and then I had to cut it as it pulled back, and so I just went ahead and cut the position, kind of broke even on the trade. I think it was a small loss, and I was still watching it, and then it had earnings, and then it kind of gapped down and faded. So another one that kind of, the chart at this point is still doesn't look too bad. It's above the 50-day, but kind of broken for the time being. But I think it's still one to keep an eye on, because the pattern still doesn't look that bad. Overall, this chart still looks pretty strong, but this is just another example. Let's see, ADXL. So this one, I still kind of watching this name. It's got a couple key spots. I guess you could say the 630 and even 6 area are key areas. And it's been basing here. So since back here, it's been in this kind of sideways range. Looks like the volatility is getting tighter. So this is one that I'll continue to watch. Looks like it's back up near that 6 spot. But this basing period here from basically mid-February till now, so several months. And so this one could make a move to the upside. I've been keeping an eye on this one through 6, and maybe even through 630 could be a trigger. But overall, it's been consolidating for a while. Looks like it's ready to make a move one way or the other, either down or up. So keep that one on the radar. Okay, Kirk's, this was a nice break. Had this key spot here, right on the 650 area. And you can see when that one broke, had a nice 2-day run, and now it looks like it's pulling back and holding that support area, kind of like a breakout pullback setup. So this one, actually, if you looking to go long, you could actually, looks like based on Friday's action, the low of that day could be your risk, and then look for this one to rally back up, maybe even up to near 7 again. But this key resistance here around 640, 650 was broken, and often when those things break, and you can see the good volume, you get a breakout pullback setup where it pulls back, tests that resistance that now becomes support, and then it starts to continue its uptrend. But that was a nice breakout through 640, 650 area. I didn't trade it, but it was a nice setup from last week on the watch list. PTN, another one that kind of a good pattern that faded and broke. But here was what I was seeing here on this one. Kind of an ascending triangle, breakout through that 45, and had a pretty decent push. I think it got all the way to 50. So, but then it faded and turned back down. So, once again, another failed break. So at this point, see no trade on that one. Okay, fuel. Here's another one based on an earnings failure. Had a good pattern here at 660 or 560, 570, somewhere in there. It looked like it wanted to. This is what I was kind of seeing, and sure enough, I think it had earnings, and then it just faded and broke. So just keep that in mind. These earnings, as earnings come around, and your stock has earnings, just keep an eye on that. So. VSTM. All right, so this is one that I was patient with, and so far it's been paying off. So here's the pattern I was seeing on this VSTM. Basically had tested this 220 spot once, twice, 3 times, and started flagging. And then so I entered this one at around 222 or something like that on this day, thinking it was going to break, and then it pulled back down. And I said, okay, well, this pattern is still holding. I'm looking at this 2 area, which is kind of the bottom of this flag, if you will. And so I'm like, I'm going to give this thing some time because I still like this chart, and it hasn't broken down. And so I held my position, and sure enough, finally on this day, it had a big break, and I took some profits on the following day at around 246 because it's got some resistance up around 245. So yeah, 220 area broke out. So now it's got some resistance up around 250. Kind of poked its head through there a couple times, gets rejected. But you know, I still got half my position in this one, and this daily chart still looks like it's going to go higher. And as a profit target, I'm looking at, you know, maybe this area here as the base. So 180, right, and then 220, so that's 40 cents. So maybe, you know, maybe 260 area would be another area to take out the rest of the position, or maybe even, you know, another quarter or whatever. But this one still looks very strong, and so I'll continue to give this one some time, see how it plays out. But a good example of a swing trade and a pattern that's being patient with the position as long as the pattern's holding up and letting it give you, you know, letting it run is what I'm trying to do here with this VSTM. Okay, SONS, another another nice chart, still kind of consolidating, had this big earnings breakout, and it's just kind of sideways, pulled back, and kind of grinding higher. I still like this one, and it's just not a very dynamic mover. It's just grinding higher slowly, so it's got a couple key levels. You know, 8 is one level, and then, you know, you can see the high of these wicks would be another level, but overall, still looks good, just kind of slowly grinding higher. So this would be another good swing trade idea, using maybe this trend line here as your risk area. But overall, still a strong chart, still looks good. Okay, ENZ was a, you know, here was the pattern I was looking at through this 9, kind of flagged as a break, and then it flagged out, and then had a nice break. So you could have bought this break, and still looks pretty good. No position in it, but, you know, I'd use kind of this trend line here if you were in it as kind of your risk area. But overall, this is a nice little, you know, couple day swing if you had it, or even a day trade on this 9 break would have been a good trade. All right, NIOT had a nice break. You can see here in 210 spot. Yeah, 210, 215, and had this ascending triangle type pattern. So you could have bought this one on this break, and then it, you know, it pulled back, but it held this level, closed right at 210, and so now it's just kind of grinding just above that 210 area. But overall, still looks like a pretty good chart. You know, next resistance is up here at 240. So I don't really see anything immediate, you know, entry point on this one. So it's just one to keep an eye on at this point. But NIOT did provide a good one day, you know, day trade, if you will, on this break. And if you held it, obviously it kind of gave it back. But overall, still looks like a healthy chart. Okay, APOP, another one that just kind of slowly grinding higher. You know, it closed right at this 10 spot. So I do like this chart. It's just kind of hard to figure out where you would enter it. It's not really giving any real good entry points, except for, you know, on this day, this green day right here, when it broke through 960, that would have been kind of a good entry. But overall, it's still a healthy chart, one to keep an eye on. It looks like 10 is a key support, a key area to watch. If it can hold this 10, maybe it can grind up and make another leg up. So still like this APOP. We'll keep that on radar. INNL, this one, just kind of sideways, nothing to trade right at the moment. Some key resistance up here at 240, so I'll be keeping an eye on this one. Maybe it can get a ramp up to 240 area. Be one to look for a trade on. And then even before that, maybe on a 220 break, and then a push to 240 might be it. But so this one just sideways action, but it, you know, overall looks like it could make a move, you know, to the upside here any day now. So I'll keep that on radar. LPTH, another one looks pretty good. Let's see. A couple key spots here. This $3 level, based on opening and closing prices, looks like that was a key spot back here, and then finally it broke it, and now it's kind of retesting 3. So if this thing can hold above 3, maybe it can turn back up and make another leg up. But overall, longer term, it's a good looking chart. LPTH 3 looks like it's a kind of a key support. All right, Mac had a nice break. It's on the watch list. I didn't trade it, but here's what I've seen basically on on Tuesday. Had the big green, had a good green day here, and then closed right at this level here. So yeah, right up 340 area-ish, 340, 350, and then finally it broke that, and then it tested it, and then continued higher. So this MAC was a nice breakout. Looks like it could have some more upside as well after breaking out of this base. So that could be one to watch going forward. Looks a little bit extended now, so maybe it's going to pull back, rest a little bit. But that was a nice break if you could if you entered that one. All right, GERN, GERN still looks good. A couple key spots on this one. This one had a spot at 273, and as soon as it broke through that on Friday, had a nice push. This is one that I didn't catch, and it was a very nice break, either as a day trade or even a swing trade. I do think this one's going higher, and potential profit would be, I would use say maybe this 238 and then this 273. So take the difference between 273 and 238, and then that would be your potential target, which it looks like it may have already hit that target. So with this one, maybe it's going to consolidate, kind of pull back a little bit and give another entry point. But overall, strong chart, and it was a great breakout. You could have got in on this one on this break based on closing prices through 264-ish. On this day would have been an good entry, or even on the next day on the break of these wicks at 273. So yeah, GERN, another one to keep on radar. Nice break on Friday. All right, next up, BLPH. Really like this chart. It looks like this 160 spot is kind of a key area. Kind of tested it back here, tested it right there. So you can see here was a low, a higher low, put in a higher low. So it looks like it's just kind of getting tighter and tighter near this 160 spot. And if we can get through 160, maybe it can retest this 180. So this is a volatile little bio. So yeah, kind of here's the kind of trend line here, right here. So we'll see what this one can do. If it can break through 160, it might be worth a buy. You want to push towards this 180 spot. So that one still looks good. AUPH, this is probably my favorite setup for Monday. I'm in this one so I'm barely profitable. I'm in at 763, and it looks like this 8 spot. So yeah, right around maybe here is one area, and the high of these candle wicks is right around $8, so 801. But so it looks like it's right there. It's kind of had this big run up, kind of a pullback sideways, and then it looks like it's ramping up again. You can see the volume over the last few days has been pretty good, and we'll see if this thing can't get through this Friday's high, and then next spot would be maybe 8, and maybe a push back up here near 9, or even higher. But we'll see how this one plays out. But it's a very nice looking setup. You can see the rising 50-day. It's holding above that. Kind of found support there, and we'll see if this thing can make a push towards 8 or better next week. But really like this one. Like I said, I'm in at 763, so barely profitable at this point. But I do like this one for a move higher. We'll see what happens there. All right, TAHO. Still really like this chart. It's right up here at this 932 area would be kind of a multi-month breakout, or at least the last 2 months anyway. But it looks like the high of this wick here right around 230, and then it had a big gap up, tested this or 930 I should say, and then pulled back, and now it's just trying to grind higher. So this one, it does look like it's going to go higher. This is a industrial mineral play, pretty beaten down. But it does look like it's kind of bottoming out down here and could provide some, looks like it may be reversing here a longer term trend. Take a look at, draw a trend line across these peaks, something like that, it's kind of, see. Maybe this would be, better drawing, but you can see how kind of broke a downtrend and kind of bottoming out. So, but that one, Tahoe does look good. Here's another nice break, CORI. Another one I didn't trade, but here was kind of the pattern based on, so it was Wednesday's close right up here at this resistance around 480, and so then it gapped up and had a nice 2-day push. So this one could have been a nice 2-day runner. So we'll see what this one can do now. It looks a little bit extended, so I don't see anything on the right now for a trade, but that was a nice breakout from the watch list. Alright, FBIO, this one looks fantastic. So this is probably my second favorite setup next to AUPH for Monday. Got this 4 resistance and tested 4 twice, pulled back to the 50-day, held above it, put in another pullback to the 50-day, and now it's right there at the 4 spot. So I do like this one for a 4 breakout, and then next spots would be the high of this wick up here. 413 area, if it can break through and go from there, and then you'd use a target. I would use, let's say, 340 to 4, so I'd add 60 cents. So I'd say 460 would be a target, a good target for this one. But that's a really nice chart. Next to AUPH, probably my second favorite setup for Monday. Alright, IXYS was another nice break on Friday. Right in this 1440, 1450 area. Semiconductor stock, you can see kind of pulled back, put in a higher low, and then right there on that 1450 break had a nice push. So this one looks like it's going to go higher. Could have a multi-day move, and I would use, let's say, 1350 to 1450. So I'd put about $1 profit on this one. So 1450. 1550 would be a good target. Okay, ABUS, this is another bio. It's still consolidating. Looked like it wanted to break through 345 on Friday, but then it kind of got rejected. But it's still, if you look at Thursday's close, it was the highest close in this entire range, closed at 345. So that was a good sign. And if you look at the relative volume, right there on Thursday, it closed, pretty good relative volume on Thursday. So this one, and you can see the 50-day is kind of catching up with the 50-day. So this one would be one to watch through 345 on a break of that. Would be a nice trade. Overall, very good-looking consolidation sideways. It's a little bit a thinner trading name, but if you can get some good volume in it, it'll be worth a trade. Okay, CPRX, another bio. Had a big run, and then kind of topped out right around this 2 area. Even though it kind of, on this day it closed right at just above 2 and then faded. So 2 is kind of a key area, and pulled back, held, perked up, and then put in a higher low, and then now it's retesting kind of that 2 area. So I'd watch this one for a 2 break, and then maybe a retest of 217, something like that. But overall, strong chart. I like this one for more upside. I'll be keeping an eye on this one for next week. CPRX. Okay, ABEO, another bio. Key area up here at, say, 640-ish. And take a look at the volume. Last 2 days, big volume. Big volume spikes. So you got some big volume coming in. Got this key resistance up here, so if we can clean out these sellers, you can see a nice push higher. So it's getting bought up. And so I do like this one here. ABEO does look like a really nice setup for next week. Can see some continued upside, so that's one to keep on the radar. Momo just keeps grinding higher. You can see where it had this flag pattern through, say, 35.70, and had a nice break of that, consolidated, and then now it's, re-breaking out. So this is from a longer term trend. You can just see this thing just continues grinding higher. So this is a nice looking kind of a longer term trend following stock. Just a very beautiful uptrend, and it looks like it's about to break through this 40 spot. And good volume on Friday. Not to say, this one has a 1 or 2 day moves and it kind of consolidates. So this is more of a longer term trend trade on this one. You can see where it breaks and just consolidates for several days. Looks like this one could maybe have a nice push through 40 and then get sideways action going again. So, but still overall a very strong longer term chart. Alright, last up is this ARNC, which is a aluminum stock. So some of the aluminum stocks do look pretty good. This one, looking at this chart, you see it had a big run up, pulled back, consolidated, put in a bottom right around 26, and it's got this spot right around 28. Tested that right there, had a nice test there, tested it again, and now it's back near 28. So I'm looking at through 28 would be a good spot. If I get through 28, I think it could do 30. And then on to new highs. If some momentum can return to some of these aluminum stocks. Let's see, Alcoa is another aluminum stock that looks like it may be finding support down here, and could be starting a new up leg. This one's not nearly as pretty as the other one though, so ARNC looks much better. So I'd trade that one instead if you're going to trade it. But okay guys, that's all I got. Still continuing with, swing trading, staying away from the day trading because it's what works for me, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing. And last week was a good, one of the better weeks I've had in a while. So I'm gonna keep doing what's working, which is catching some of these longer term swing trades. So hope you guys have a good Sunday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.